I remember when I got hired that I stressed the importance of my wife being involved in this with me, because I was not, I did not feel prepared or comfortable doing this just by myself. And so I needed my partner to help me through that and to do it well, and to know that she was bought in also. And then equally, or even more importantly, in some ways, to know that if I was going to be gone away from my wife and my kids, that I wanted my kids to know what Dad was doing. And so they're here a lot with us when we're doing this. They love being around those older kids. A lot of them love being around them too, and probably some of them don't, but a lot of them do. A lot of those kids have become our babysitters, and they've loved on our girls, and that's been huge for us, and so we've been really thankful for that.
Speaking of, hi, come here. What are you doing?
A butterfly.
You got a butterfly? That's so cute. They're always here.
I think the next goal that we've tried to stay focused on is just kind of having a sense of community. I know Bob's always been big on that too, and so that wasn't something we wanted to let go away when we took over. And so I think the biggest thing that's honestly helped with that has just been the fact that I'm also a teacher at our local high school, and so I don't really get a break from them, but that's okay. Seeing those kids Monday through Friday, a lot of them, has been huge for not just them having their youth pastor in the building as like a be good because he's there, but just to know that they've got somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. If they're having a bad day, or if they need to talk to somebody. I mean, I have kids standing at my desk before school talking to me about youth group things. I have kids in my room at lunch talking about youth group things. I have kids that come in my room after school with questions and whatever. And so I'm obviously limited on what I can do in the high school, but the kids aren't. So them being able to come into my room and talk to me about questions that they have about something they read in the Bible, and not caring about what volume they're asking that question at, those other kids hear that and they see what we're doing, and that's led to a lot of kids come through that wouldn't have been involved in a youth group or a church in any way probably if it wasn't for those kids just asking those questions and inviting them, and those kids knew who their youth pastor was because they saw me at the school. So that's been huge too, to just know that I'm there and they have somewhere to go.
What's your full name that they call you?
Mr. Pastor Teacher Gavin Suver, sir. So the last thing that we really try to focus on as much as we can is just the idea of being as focused on the truth of Scripture as we can. And so a lot of times what I find myself doing when we have a lesson or a series is to just open the Bible and read it, and let that be the truth that they hear, rather than me trying to come up with my own original idea that's so wise and smart. Just let them have the truth of Scripture spoken to them and over them, so that they can take that and chew on it and think about what the Bible is saying. And so that's been huge, and I know that's led to a lot of questions. It's led to a lot of conversations. It's led to a lot of kids that are maybe not necessarily a fan of something that they hear, but that comes with, okay, I'm hearing this, I believe the Bible's real, and because of that, I have to accept what this is saying, even if it's hard. Mm. And trying not to skip over those things. And so that's been really important to us. And along with that, just kind of being critical of things that they hear. And so I challenge them all the time to be critical. And I know that includes, because I tell them, That includes anything that we say to them, because I may say something to these kids that one of them hears that and goes, I don't think that's right. And I tell them, if you don't think it's right, then do some research, do a little digging, and come talk to me, and let's both grow in our faith and our relationship with the Lord by having those conversations. And so then I don't want them to be afraid to challenge me if I say something that sounds off. So I tell them all the time to be critical. And I think especially in the world that we live in today, everybody's feeding all kinds of things. And so I want them to just kind of be tuned into what's true and what's not. So some changes that we've made in the time that we've been doing this, days and times of the week doesn't really matter, but we have adjusted that at times just as we felt led to based off conversations with the kids and what their schedules allow and work with. And so we've just tried to stay flexible with that. But the big changes that we've made, I know the junior high and the high school was split for a long time, and it served well, I believe, during the time that it was that way. A couple years ago, we had been doing it that way for a few years and just felt like it was important to at least try to bring those groups back together, because what we were noticing was that the junior high group had a lot of energy, and the high school group took things a little bit more seriously, at least most of them did. And so what we wanted to try to do with that was allow those older kids an opportunity to provide some leadership and some mentorship to those younger kids, and then also allow those junior high kids to kind of breathe some life and some energy and some excitement into youth group. And so combining them all back together has served really well over the last couple of years, I feel, to allow that for some very specific kids that just needed somebody to take them under their wing, found an older kid or two that were able to do that, and that's really helped them out. So thankful that that's worked the way that it has, and if we ever feel like it needs to split again, then that's what we'll do, but that's worked well for the time being.
I think too, high school is a scary place for a lot of kids, and I remember not enjoying every part of it myself, but going in as a freshman is probably one of the most terrifying seasons of your life. But to have these 7th and 8th graders knowing kids in their high school that they're going into, I think really prepares them better to already have friends there and already have those older kids who are willing to, kind of take them under their wing and, just not have them walking into a brand new place with people that they don't know. So establishing those relationships ahead of time, I think, has really helped out a lot of our middle-aged kids that are just getting into high school too.
For sure. The other big thing that we've changed is, I know Bob will speak to all of the kind of ebb and flow of who the kids are that are involved in youth ministry. Sometimes it's athletes, sometimes it's music kids, sometimes it's whoever it is. And so we know that there have been times in the past where depending on who that group was, kind of drove how youth group flowed and functioned. And we didn't want to change that. We just kind of changed the approach that we take with it. And so one Sunday a month, one Sunday night a month, we will have a game night. So the first Sunday of every month, we have 3 ladies in our church that provide something that's not pizza for food. And we sit and eat and fellowship, and those nights usually involve some type of prayer groups or discussion groups, just to kind of break out into some smaller conversations where kids are more able to open up. But other than that, I don't teach a lesson on those nights, and we really just focus on hanging out, being together, trying to make connections with kids that are maybe new. And we've found those are probably our biggest weeks, and whether those kids are there every Sunday doesn't really matter. The point is that those Sundays, they're they feel invited and they feel low pressure to just show up and be there. And so that's been how several of our kids have become a part of that group, is they were invited by somebody to that night and then stuck around. And so that's been really cool. We also, when we are doing our lessons on the other nights, sometimes they lead to conversations that take longer than I necessarily planned for, which is good. But that means we find ourselves not spending a lot of time playing games and just hanging out and doing fellowship stuff. And so to try to balance that, we wanted to do the game nights that way and give those kids an opportunity to just get in the door and be here and meet some people. We know that doing this was not going to work if it was just Michaela and I running the youth group on our own. And so over the years, we've had lots of people help us with certain things and would not have been able to get through some of those things without them. I have taken a group of 20 boys to a week-long summer camp by myself, and it's incredibly difficult and stressful to do that on my own. And so over the last couple of years especially, we've had so much help with those things that have made it so much more enjoyable to be in youth ministry. We've had people, like I mentioned already, that provide meals just kind of on a rotating basis, that give the kids something that's not what they normally get and something that's homemade usually, and they just really enjoy that and the kids appreciate that. And that's little things like that have been huge. I've had people that come in and help teach or would sit on a panel to discuss certain topics, and we've had people that have volunteered their time and their time off of work to come to camp with us, which has been so huge and helpful. Like I said, over the last couple of years specifically, we've had several, 5 or 6 or 7 people that take time out of their summer schedules, and they're not a teacher like me, so they have to take time off of work to go do that. And I can't tell them enough how appreciative I am of them taking their time out of their life to go do that for this group of kids. To that, we've also had, over the last couple of years now, some college kids that are off doing their thing, and then when they come home, they're here. When they're home for a weekend, they show up at youth group. When they are off for the summer, they come to camp with us and don't just go there to have fun, they go to lead. And that's what it's all about. That's what my hope is for any kid that comes through, is that kind of like the experience we had as we were meeting was, I have established my relationship with Jesus in high school, and I'm not going to let that fall off when I go to college. Instead, I'm going to lean into it and let that be who I am when I go somewhere new and go to this next stage of my life. And so them coming back and showing up, and the high school kids that miss them getting excited to see them walk in the door and talk to them and catch up with them and then lead them in their relationship with the Lord is really, really cool to see. And I mean, that's really the goal of what we're trying to do. And so hopefully that comes through and we see that make more and more impact over the years.